Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know With the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution, and also in part by Xyway brand fungicide, where you get an unfair advantage. Always read and follow label directions. I'm Dale Minya. Let's take a look at yesterday's midday report from the World Ag Supply and Demand estimates and crop production. USDA cut Argentina's soybean production by 3 million metric tons to 49 million metric tons, while leaving Brazil's unchanged at 169 million metric tons. Global ending stocks declined by 4 million metric tons to 124 million metric tons, below the range of pre-report expectations. Domestic ending stocks were left unchanged. USDA cut both Argentina and Brazil's corn production estimates by 1 million metric tons to 50 and 126 million metric tons, respectively. Tuesday's new crop U.S. ending stocks estimates were neutral for corn, soybeans, and wheat, said DTN lead analyst Rhett Montgomery. World ending stocks estimates from USDA were moderately bullish for corn, moderately bullish for soybeans, and neutral for wheat, he said. Corn, the farm gate price for 24-25 was increased 10 cents a bushel to $4.35 a bushel. That was the only change USDA made to domestic corn numbers. In soybeans, USDA left the U.S. soybean supply and demand balance sheet unchanged for the 24-25 crop year, except for lowering the national average farm gate price by a dime to $10.10 per bushel. In wheat, USDA's estimates for 24-25 domestic wheat ending stocks at 794 million bushels, down 4 million bushels from the 798 we saw in January. The average U.S. farm gate price for wheat also was unchanged at $5.55 per bushel. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
We've got a mess headed towards Ohio for this afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. Here's what's going on overall. We've got a significant weather system trying to exit the Central Plains today and head toward the eastern Corn Belt. Clouds will be increasing this afternoon, but temperatures are also moderating, so it's going to feel okay across the region here this afternoon. The clouds that are increasing are pointing towards some precipitation, and that gets in here late afternoon before sunset. We're seeing the precipitation start in northwestern parts of Ohio first and then fill in over the rest of the state. I do think northwest Ohio is where we see the best chance of heavy, wet snow. I think we can see several inches of accumulation in northwest Ohio. The rest of the state, rain and freezing rain, so rain and ice, and it really just depends on where you're at as to what type you get. If we're drawing a line, let's go from Cleveland to the Dayton area, and either side of that line we can see some ice potential, but south of the line we see more rain potential than ice. But that can change based on track of the low and also just on temperatures. The biggest part of the precipitation comes through overnight tonight when temperatures are at their coldest anyway, and I fear that we have an overrunning scenario here where warm air is coming over the top of cold, so any rain that falls does have the potential to freeze down at the surface. So it's going to be a mess as we move into early tomorrow morning, but then we get skies to clear tomorrow midday and afternoon, and we should get good weather to finish the week. High pressure here, good sunshine, but also colder than normal. I'm Ryan Martin.
Let's check in now with Joel Panorwood. He has an update on a fungicide that goes in the row. Let's find out more. Joel?
Talking with Adam Byrne, FMC Technical Service Manager, and we're going to be talking about specifically their fungicide Xyway, which is pretty unique in that it is brought on at planting. It's not one that we have to kind of keep re-upping throughout the season via foliar methods. But Adam, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. The importance of thinking about this year. So important.
Absolutely. With farming, one thing we know as a guarantee is uncertainties. We don't know every year the weather or what our disease pressures are, but we know there's going to be some problems on some level. And we're really excited about how our Xyway fungicides are performing. And with that at planting application kind of setting the stage and being kind of preemptive, kind of proactively addressing some of these concerns is really an advantage to the growers. And, Xyway has the active ingredient flutriafol, which is really novel in the fact that it's very systemic. And so we can put that down at planting with, we have two different formulations, our LFR, liquid fertilizer ready formulation, or this 3D Thrive system. It's a foam band that goes directly in furrow. But otherwise, this LFR formulation that most growers are using, you put off the seed a little bit, 1/2 inch to 2x2 or up to 3 or 4 inches, and side dress is an opportunity as well. But that puts that band in the soil that the roots can access, and it pulls it in all season long, moves it through the plant into that foliar tissue. And then when the diseases move in, you've got that protection, kind of that inside out protection already established. And that really is giving that plant a jump start in terms of that disease protection. And it gives you flexibility because it has really strong activity against the leaf spot diseases like gray leaf spot, northern corn, or southern corn leaf blights. And so traditionally, growers have had to spray at that tassel timing to control those diseases. Well, with Xyway in the system, you don't have to worry about that. It controls those. And now with tar spot in the landscape, which is really a driving disease now for a lot of growers, and it's moving eastward. Maybe parts of Ohio haven't seen as bad as Indiana, but it's coming. And there are pockets where they have, obviously. And so by not having to worry about that tassel application for those other diseases, it gives growers a flexibility to time that foliar application to really be optimal for giving you that protection against tar spot as long as you can into that grain fill period.
More information at FMC's website, I'm sure.
Yeah, www.ag.fmc.com. There you go.
Joining us today on the Ohio AgNet, Adam Byrne, FMC Technical Service Manager. He covers Ohio and has been doing a great job here of covering this, of a fungicide to think about using at planting.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Joel. Let's go to the World Ag Supply and Demand Report as it relates to livestock. They said it was supportive to cattle and beef markets for 25. Comments coming from DTN livestock analyst Shaylee Stewart. Beef production for 2025 was increased by 775 million pounds as carcass weights remain historically high. And just last week, APHIS announced that the Mexican cattle imports would resume, which ensures additional supply. All 4 quarters of 25 for projected steer prices also saw an increase, as steers in the first quarter are expected to average $205 per hundredweight, up $11 from last month. Tuesday's report also was mixed for the hog and pork markets of 25. Pork production was increased by 20 million pounds thanks to higher carcass weights. All in all, quarterly price projections for hog prices didn't change much, as only the first quarter of 2025 saw a slight increase, as hog prices are now projected to average $62. That's up $1 from last month. In totally different kind of news, the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company offers 11 tire lines with soybean oil in the tread compound. The United Soybean Board supported Goodyear research and the product development that demonstrated that soybean oil could improve the flexibility at low temperatures in consumer tires, helping the rubber to remain pliable in cold weather, enhancing traction in rain and snow. Goodyear increased its use of soybean oil by 9.9% from 2022 to 2023. Because of the potential for bio-based products to create new markets for soybeans, U.S. soybean farmers have invested millions of dollars to research, test, and promote bio-based products. Much of this work has been done through the United Soybean Board, which is composed of 77 U.S. soybean farmers appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture to invest soybean checkoff funds as stipulated in the Soybean Promotion, Research, and Consumer Information Act. USDA's Agricultural Marketing Services has oversight responsibilities for the soybean checkoff. For more information, visit www.soybiobased.org. The National Pork Producers Council expressed serious concern about the 2025 Dietary Guideline Advisory Committee's so-called scientific report in comments filed with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. While U.S. pork producers are committed to supporting human health and nutrition with safe, wholesome, and nutritious protein, the Dietary Guidelines Committee's recommendations do not, said Rob Brenneman, the National Pork Producers Vice President and pork producer from Washington, Iowa. The health of our nation is at risk as these guidelines inform all federal nutrition programs, including those affecting our school children and the military, and provide recommendations to health professionals. We urge the committee to do the right thing and follow the science. The committee's most egregious scientific recommendations include reducing and replacing red meat with plant-based proteins, which would lead to several significant nutrient gaps and deficiencies. This move will especially put at risk infants, young children, adolescent girls, pregnant and lactating women, and older adults, as they require higher amounts of protein and nutrients that are provided by animal-based proteins. With diet-related diseases on the rise and the continued challenge of food insecurity, science-based nutrition is paramount. Stay tuned. Back with markets after this.
Here's the scoop. Soybeans are fueling Ohio's dairy farms, one glass of milk at a time. Nationwide, dairy farms use the equivalent of 229 million bushels of soybeans every year. Plus, high oleic soybeans boost milk fat and yield, making farms more profitable. From the fields to your fridge, soybeans power the farms that feed families. Brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Attention Ohio businesses. Join the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the 2025 Ohio Safety Congress and Expo, April 16th through the 18th at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. Connect with industry experts, have hands-on training sessions, explore cutting-edge safety solutions with over 300 exhibitors. Whether you're looking to reduce risks, enhance productivity, or build a stronger safety culture, the Ohio Safety Congress is for you. Register at www.ohiosafetycongress.com. It's free. Quick notes on the calendar. Today's the last day of the open house for complete liquidation of Wellman seeds. It runs from 9 until 3 with locations in Van Wert and Delphus. For complete information, go to the website grainelevatorauction.com. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For information on marketing soybeans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finishing the Tuesday session on lows, or at least just a couple pennies off the lows. It was a lower day overall. Big story of the day, or honestly lack of story, had to surround the WASDE report, supply and demand information out. The February report was somewhat of a snooze fest overall. Domestic ending stocks did not change on corn and beans, staying exactly the same as where we were at last month. We saw the wheat ending stocks pulled back just a little bit, 794 million bushels versus 798 prior. Probably not a story, but it was enough to keep the wheat market from doing too much until late in the session to the downside. Probably the biggest news or the biggest story on the WASDE came on the heels of South American production. Here we saw Argentina's soy production unexpectedly dropped to 3 million metric tons, down to 49. That's too much in my opinion, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Corn production in Argentina was also dropped 1 million tons. Brazil bean production was left completely alone, but the key here is it was not raised like many thought it was going to be. Brazil corn production was dropped 1 million metric tons. That was a slight surprise overall. So net, we did lose some production out of South America when you put Brazil and Argentina together. Still believe, though, that once the combines really are rolling in Brazil, you're going to see that production number on beans be up enough to pretty much offset any losses that would be in Argentina. The other place that we felt some change here on the WASDE world ending stocks, we did see beans down over 4 million metric tons, mostly due to the losses in South America. Corn was down as well, the all-wheat number lower, so the world stocks are smaller out there. Russia's exports were dropped about 500,000 tons, as was Ukraine's exportable wheat position, so that helped the wheat market as well. Still, though, at the end of the day, not much good and not much exciting to talk about. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. I'll have the overnight figures after this.
Morton Buildings is holding their annual Building Value Day sales event, running now until the end of February. If you are looking to build, now's the time to lock in your building project and save. Join them for their open house Friday, February 21st, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, February 22nd, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at one of their Ohio construction centers, Caldwell, Kenton, Wilmington, or Worcester. For more information and to find your local office, visit mortonbuildings.com. Certain restrictions may apply. This offer is available on select building styles. Contact your local construction center for more details.
Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, December corn up 1/4 cent, 4.70 1/2. November beans two-sided trade down 1/2 now at 10.55, and July wheat is unchanged at 6.01 3/4. February cattle down 2.20 at 199.67. February lean hogs 88.72, up $1.02, and April feeder cattle down $2.80 at 264.97. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.